Hey guys, what's up and welcome to a new Tesla update video. So today is a fresh week, of course, being a Monday, a Monday that's not an off day for once. So yeah, let's go over the market. Let's see what happened today. Pretty choppy day, I'm not gonna lie. Definitely a little bit of a weird day. Baited me out a few times as well, but nonetheless, I have entered a bullish position. So yeah, let's see what happens. We'll go over it. If you guys enjoyed, don't forget to hit that like button, but let us jump into it. So Tesla ending the day pretty flat, only down 0.3%. However, it did start the day off up about I think it was about 3 to 4% all the way to the peak over here. But nonetheless, that puts us at just shy of $735. Now, that's not too bad. The very first thing I want to kind of just get out of the way very quickly are the indices. So the SPY and the QQQ are setting up something similar, both setting up essentially a bull flag, or a bull pennant, I guess. Bull flag, bull pennant. I mean, ultimately the same thing in my opinion, but nonetheless, they are setting that up. You can see here. Also, very choppy day for the SPY and the QQQ, because you can see these candles right here were extremely big baits and essentially bear traps, in my honest opinion. Huge bear traps. It made me exit my position a couple of times as well when Tesla did it as well over here, which I'll go over soon. But nonetheless, pretty much we are currently in this bull pennant. 1, 2, 3, 4. The fact that this fourth held right here is very important, and now we're potentially going to be making our way up to the top. And as long as we break well above 390, the market should ultimately see a beautiful run up for this week, in my honest opinion. Same thing here. You can see beautiful looking buy candles on the QQQ and the SPY. Very similar outcome, right? But the point is that you can see whenever the bears try to push it down, the bulls just stepped in, completely pushed it back up, and took over control pretty significantly, which is extremely good. That's kind of what you want to see, and that of course makes it better for Tesla, because Tesla, if the indices are doing well, that definitely helps Tesla do well as well, right? So ultimately what happened with Tesla is we ran up and then we pretty much sold off, bounced off, and I personally thought this would be a double bottom. So I entered the position here, then we kind of fell under, exited, then we came back up, re-entered, exited here again, and then re-entered again. I got baited out twice, but ultimately I'm still up, of course, assuming I hold this position, which I plan to. But nonetheless, Tesla looking quite wonderful. Now, the main thing that I personally thought we would see is I actually thought we might be able to see 720, and the reason is because so the EMA, you can see here, the 21 EMA is sitting at 714, so we're well above that, which is fantastic. Pretty much all of these right here, you're going to see all these lines we are currently well above, right? So let me remove the drawings for now. We are currently well above all of these kind of main averages, moving averages, if you will, that I personally care about for the short-term movements that I think are, pretty vital. And we're currently well above all of them. The reason I thought we'll go to about 720 is because that right there is where I believe it was the 5-day moving average sitting at 719. I thought we would at the very least retest that, if not maybe like, tiny bit lower though. But ultimately we did not. Ultimately we held the 730 support, which is pretty good in my opinion, on this, fairly red day though, on very low volume, which is also a pretty decent sign in my opinion as well. Only 26 million volume today on a red day, not bad. So yeah, ultimately we are above all the major moving averages that kind of signify a potential short-term reversal, which is fantastic news. The RSI is still setting ultimately a higher high over here. Even though it went lower, the RSI barely pointing down. So ultimately it's kind of consolidating as well, kind of similar to what the RSI did over here. You can see, right? It kind of went up, almost like a little bull flag, if you will. Now we went up, setting up almost like another little bull flag kind of thing on the RSI as well. Now we're essentially just waiting for that to play out, and the fact that 730 held, and the fact that we didn't go below any of these moving averages, including the Bollinger Band, and we're still well above all of them, including the 21 EMA. Like ultimately, this would be a massive disappointment, I guess, let's just say, if Tesla falls apart and goes back under, like, let's say 700. That, in my opinion, shouldn't happen this week, and if it does, it probably will be like Friday. But it will be an ultimate disappointment, in my opinion, for that to happen. There's a lot of signs point to that not happening, and the bears are simply just not having enough control, even though this candle looks, obviously pretty red, not, the most bullish looking candle in the world. But again, the major thing you want to look at right now, in my opinion, is the trend. And the trend currently for the short term, again, this is the short term specifically, next, for this week, maybe even next week, but ultimately I would say this week is what I personally care about, is up. For Tesla and the indices as well, which I just talked about, right? Beautiful plays on the indices, beautiful, buying pressure on the indices as well. Absolutely gorgeous, right? This is pretty much picture perfect as to what I would want to see for, bullish confirmation so far. Again, nothing's guaranteed, but even Tesla, same concept, right? On the 15-minute chart, you can see it did fall back here, but every time it fell to this kind of 730 level, bought, fell a bit lower here. This was definitely a pretty big trap, a bear trap right here, in my opinion. this definitely seemed like it wants to go to 720. I actually thought, this is the reason I sold here, because I thought we'll go to 720, which was my ultimate target. We didn't. So that was also kind of, baited me a bit there as well. But ultimately, Tesla, you can see these long wicks on these candles on the 15-minute chart, which just shows that, the buyers really stepped in on these situations here where the bears really try to push it down even further. And they just couldn't do it. The buyers were just way too strong. Just two beautiful hammer dojis over here on the 15-minute, which is very, very good. On the 30-minute, same concept here. There's beautiful buying pressure. Now we need to get above this white line on the Bollinger Band on the kind of smaller time frame, which is pretty much around the 735 level, which I think we should do without much problems. And once we do, I think we're definitely looking pretty good to finally ultimately head up to my main price target that I have been talking about for quite some time, which of course is going to be more or less up to this channel that we are currently in, potentially setting up a bear flag, which ultimately will lead us to the very high 700s, potentially even tapping 800. That is my current ultimate price target for now, and that's where I would personally start flipping definitely a bit more bearish. But until then, I'm still bullish for the short term, which is why I have set up a bullish position. What I have done personally, in case you're wondering, is I sold a weekly put. I sold a weekly put for 700. In other words, I'm pretty much saying that I don't think Tesla will end this week below 700, essentially, is what I'm saying. Another way you can look at it that's potentially a bullish way confirmation is you can see here, potentially having this little blue line right here. Let me make it a little bit bigger just so you guys can get a better idea of what I'm talking about. But essentially this blue line that I just drew, you can see as we kind of went up here, we set up the high, then we kind of kept getting rejected, got rejected again, got rejected, kind of got rejected here. And we kept getting rejected at this blue line, right? As we were kind of descending down, pretty much setting up almost like kind of a bull flaggy pattern, but it ended up being a double bottom instead. But nonetheless, the point is that once we did break above it, not only did we break above it, we came back, tested it, successfully came back up, and now we're well above it as well. So that ultimately to me is a very good sign as well, and there's still ultimately a lot of bullish signs for Tesla and the markets in general to still have a little bit more room to the upside, in my opinion, before we really can start talking about potentially playing the downside, or potentially topping out for the short term before we potentially make an even lower low ultimately as we head into a potentially volatile part of the year. So yeah, we'll see what happens with that. But ultimately, guys, I'm feeling pretty good. I'm liking the way the market's looking. I'm liking the way Tesla's looking. I'm liking the way it held 730 today. And yeah, I mean, it's looking like it wants to keep running. It's not looking like it's done. A decent amount of, consolidation happening here. A decent amount of, the bears had a good attempt here, in my opinion, but the bulls stepped in when it, mattered, in my opinion, as well, which is the most important part. Especially when you look at the indices as well. Just absolutely gorgeous candles. Pretty much all around, guys. So yeah, I'm liking the way the market's looking, guys. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling bullish. I'm feeling like, this week, for the most part, can be a good week. Another thing that kind of constitutes that is the fact that this week is the final week, not only of the month, but more importantly of the quarter. And now usually leading up until the end of the quarter, so, maybe like Wednesday, maybe Thursday, apparently, again, take this with a grain of salt, but from what I understand, the hedge funds and all that, they kind of rebalance their portfolios, and they tend to do like very bullish performances. They tend to like almost like prop the market up, if you will, to make their end of quarter numbers look good. And then after that is usually when it potentially starts tanking. So there's a lot of bullish catalysts, in my opinion, for this week, but I would say as we start entering July, like, very late this week, like Thursday, Friday, and potentially even like starting next week, as we really start July, is when I would start potentially taking a little bit more caution into, my current approach to the market. So yeah, enjoy while it lasts, guys, in my opinion. Enjoy the ride up, which I think we'll still get, but yeah, be careful. Don't get too over greedy. In my opinion, not financial advice. Do your own research, do your own due diligence, all that stuff, make your own decisions. But yeah, that's currently what I'm seeing, guys. I'm feeling pretty good about the market. I'm liking the way it's looking. I'm liking the way we're setting up here. And I think that this week will be ultimately an overall net positive week. And yeah, so if anything changes, I will let you guys know, of course. But as of right now, it's looking good. And yeah, so the thing we want to watch and essentially break is going to be potentially, let me go back to the 15-minute chart. Ultimately, guys, what you want to see break now at this point is get a nice closure above like 750, to be fair. You want to really start pushing 750 and get a nice closure above 750. And then the next target will be around this kind of 760-ish, low 760s range. And then following that, of course, we still have this gap fill all the way up here sitting around 776. That right there is where I'll probably start looking to take profit somewhere relatively close to this, which I think we will get there this week. Like, I'll be pretty surprised if we don't. But that's where I'll personally start, taking profit. But nonetheless, That's it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you guys think down below. If you guys enjoyed the video, if you find it useful, informative, whatever, don't forget to hit that like button as well. And the last thing I want to point out is, like I said before, we have a potential bearish divergence potentially starting to set up here. So that is something to keep in mind. This next run up, assuming we get it, which I think we will be really important to see how high the RSI goes, because if it cannot go higher than 70, then we really have a bearish divergence setting up here if we actually run up to, like, let's say a 780, but the RSI doesn't go above 70. That's definitely gonna be a bearish divergence, and I actually think that might happen. So keep that in mind, something to look out for. But other than that, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you guys for tomorrow. Peace.